What is up, everyone? So today I'm going to show you how to make this DIY camping shower setup and then also make it modular, so that way you could use this whole setup here on your DIY camping sink that I made in a previous video. So let's get into this and see what it's all about. So when picking out a tank, it has to have some type of inlet or outlet, okay? It doesn't matter which one you decide. You could even use the top of the tank if you don't have it, but it has to have some way to fill it large enough to put 2 hoses into it, okay? So that way you have a full circulation setup, and that would be to heat up your water. If you don't care about heating it up, you only need to put 1 tube in. But I'm going to show you both ways to do it. I'm going to show you how to heat up the water, and then also just running it direct without any heater involved. Okay, the first thing you want to do is figure out the size of this thread. So I didn't want to use the outer thread here because it's large. All my stuff is tiny, especially since I already had this fitting here. So the inside of this diameter is 3/4 national pipe thread, and then it reduces down to 1/2 inch. So this is a male to male, 3/4 male to 1/2 inch male. And then I have a 90 here, that's 1/2 inch, female to female. Then I have this on and off valve here, and it's a male to a male. So that connects all this. And then I have one of these South Brewery quick disconnects that is for a setup if you're brewing your own alcohol. I end up finding these, which are 1/2 inch already, and this is a female to a male. And the reason why I set it up like this is because for all this stainless steel stuff, it adds up, and the cheapest way I could assemble this was to get these components as you see here. Anything else would have been a lot more money, even though it's the same type of fitting. For some reason it was marked up on Amazon a lot more, so keep that in mind when searching for parts, is try to keep it as cheap as possible. Also, since I already had this, I had to make do with this because it would be a waste of money if I would have just purchased some other valve setup. Okay, so if you decide to run this without a heater, first of all, you got to choose your pump. So the pump I end up deciding to go with is C-Flow, and the model number is SFDP1-030-055-42. It's 3 gallons per minute is the flow output. It's 12 volts because you're going to be out camping, so you want to run everything on car voltage. It draws anywhere from 3.5 amps to 7.5 max. That's what it says on the label here. And it's a 55 PSI motor. It's real lightweight. The reason why I went with this one instead of all the other ones is, first of all, the cost of it was in the $50 range. Second of all, it has a pressure setup. So when you turn on the water, and then you start dialing it back, so that way you don't use as much water, and you conserve on it. Typically when you do that with a lot of these other pumps, it'll start surging, and so your water will spit because it doesn't know how to regulate it. This one here in particular will allow you to dial that back, so that way when you start dropping off in pressure, it regulates it back, but it doesn't spit it. It keeps a consistent flow. So that's why I chose this. Secondly, how to mount it. I decided to use a 3D printed base that I made with the cutout here and the contour of this profile here. And the reason why I have a cutout here is so I could run a tie down strap. So whatever this mounts to, this bucket here, I could tie it down, but I could still run the strap through the front and out the back. It'll strap the motor down as well as the tank at the same time, so everything's covered. Lastly, you want to wire it. It just comes with these regular wires coming out, positive and a negative. What I ended up doing was buying one of these cigarette lighter plugs, and the reason why I bought this is because I bought 2 males just like this that were connected to each other. They're like 20 feet or whatever. And I used one half for this one, and then the other half of the line for my Coleman water heater, which I discussed that in another video. Fixing the Coleman battery, if you're interested in that. So I show also how I utilize the other half of this. So basically I just figured out which one was positive, which would be the center. I made sure the positive was one of these two wires, and then the other one would be negative, and I hooked it up accordingly. So from there, you want to, you could set this up however you want. You could have it on barbs, you could have it on quick disconnects. It's totally up to you. If you don't want to waste the money, don't waste it. So I have a 1/2 inch, because this is a 1/2 inch strainer it comes with, and it comes with these ends that are 1/2 inch for both sides. And then I also got a, I believe 3/4 that it came with. So from here, we're gonna hook it up to that, just jumper it, so that way you got water in and then your water out. Currently, I don't have it on a quick disconnect here because I ran out of them, but I wanna shoot this video anyway, so that way you guys could start your project as well. Okay, next, what I have here is an extender here. Basically, this will plug into this, and then it'll be this end to plug into your vehicle. The reason why I got the extender is this one is a 14.8 feet with the 25 amp fuse. The reason why I got this is just in case I needed to run the power to my car, especially because I'm going to run the heater as well. Of course, it's not going to be at the same time, but just in case my battery dies on my power pack, I have the option to run it to my vehicle. Okay, and this is long enough to plug into anything around your truck bed. If you have something like a cigarette lighter setup ran somewhere in the back of your truck bed, which I do recommend, and I will probably be doing so shortly. So this setup will be multi-purpose. If you look at my previous videos that I have, I actually did one where I did a camping sink, and that's where this came from. Of course, I got this new and improved setup, so that's gonna remove all this stuff from the camping sink, and it's gonna be able to be quick disconnected here. If you're interested in that video, definitely check that one out, and you'll know the reason why I use quick disconnects is so that way I could run this shower and then now my camping sink on it. So first of all, you want to connect it there. Of course, this is a female from the brewery setup, and then this here is 1/2 inch male barb, and then you connect it to the bottom of this, okay, like so. So everything's plug and play. Like I said, I'm going to be changing this to quick disconnect later. So now I have this bundle of mess, okay? So you can make your shower tube as long as you want. This is about 25 feet. The reason why I made it so long was so that way I could utilize this for my sink or my shower, and I wanted to keep all that stuff separated, especially because there's going to be a lot of drain off and water in the area. So if you have 35 gallons, that means that there's 35 gallons that's going to go back into the water tables. So make sure you separate this from your cooking area, because you'll get everything muddy if it's not on grass. So this has a quick disconnect to go to the shower and the sink, so you could go to either one. And then for now, I just have a regular end here, which I'm going to connect to that. So now for the camping setup, this is not needed, but I'll show you why I have that, and this is not needed, the little extension. I'll show you why, but I'll show you what that's all for. This is the whole shower right here. We'll go over the specs right now. So let's first talk about the head portion, okay? I have a Foggett mister here with 3 heads here, and a Foggett brand has a 1/4, 1/2, I believe a 1, 2, and 3 gallon per minute setup if you're interested in more gallons per minute. The reason why I did 1/2 is because I figure I got a 35 gallon tank, and I can multiply that by 2, and that'll give me how many minutes of runtime I'll have on this full tank. Okay, So I kind of want to minimize the usage of water, especially when I got to do dishes and stuff as well. There's other brands that do the same thing. You don't want to run regular misters because they don't have enough output of water unless you run multiple. But the other brands you got to pay attention to because you need a way to connect it. This is a hose connector, so this is a female hose connector option. And then from there, it basically, they have other ones that are utilized like in stores to like mist the vegetables and stuff in the vegetable aisle. So you could use something like that. You just want a high output of mist, so that way you could get soap and stuff off of you. From there, I have a hose connector here to a 1/2-inch female PVC pipe. And then in between, I have a segment of a 1/2-inch PVC piece of tubing that I cut. And I got it as close as possible, as you can see. So that way there's no gap. I don't like gaps. And then I have a 1/2-inch 90. I have another segment of PVC in between. I have a 1/2-inch 45. I have another segment of PVC in between 1/2-inch. And then I have my ball valve, that's 1/2-inch as well. I have a T. I have a connector in between that's PVC 1/2-inch. And then from there I have a 1/2-inch PVC pipe that connects the 90 here. I have a 1/2-inch male national pipe thread to quick disconnect the brewery set. Like I was telling you, you could also run barbs at the end of these. But mine's a multi-purpose setup here, so I'm going to need quick disconnects so it's easier on the hose and stuff and you don't have to attach hose clamps. From there, I have a 1/2-inch connector in between that's 1/2-inch PVC. I 3D printed this, and this is a slip joint, and I'll show you why I 3D printed this. It's for those conduit pipes. So a 1/2-inch connector in between, and then from here to here, it's just solid. I put glue in there, resin, or your regular pipe glue stuff here. You could use resin, you could use gasket material, anything that won't allow water to go down, because you need to block this off, okay? And then what it's gonna do is allow me to quick disconnect to here, slip this over my stand, and then use the shower. And then I have a regulator, which will allow me to regulate here, but also turn it on and off for this ball valve. So first thing you want to do is, of course, you don't want one continuous length because that's just a long piece of metal that you got to haul around. I wanted it as compact as possible. You could maybe get away with fiberglass rods like for tent stakes. That would actually be pretty ideal, as long as you could get them stiff enough. So for what I had on hand, I had this piece of conduit here that I chopped evenly, okay? From there, I have this little connector that I tightened on one end real tight, and then this one's hand tight, so that way I could attach this one without using any tools. Also, you could use the other coupler with the screws in it on the side, and then put T-knobs for the screws. I was going to use that, but I didn't want to damage the conduit, so this is what I have. I made sure that this one would be the top piece. So the reason why I wanted this one to be the top piece is so that way I could slip the head over like so, have this still attached to it, and then what I'm going to do is put some caulking on here so no water gets in between here, especially because gravity is going to allow water to drip down. So I wanted this one to be locked on to the top of the head so that way the water doesn't get in between that and rust it out. Let's go over this bottom half setup, okay? So what I did was I drilled a 1/4-inch hole all the way through. I took a lag bolt, cut off the head, okay? Drilled a 1/4-inch hole all the way through. This has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, it's not gonna align when you put it in. So keep that in mind when drilling this. You might even wanna clamp something like this and then drill, so that way you assure that it's aligned. But remember, if it's off-centered, like mine's slightly off-centered, so it only could go in one way. If it turns around this way, it won't line up that good. So remember, what I end up doing was marking it there. And when I say it's not perfectly aligned, I'm talking about like maybe 30 thousandths to 60 thousandths. And the reason why I don't want to hog it out is because I want a snug fit with this. If this isn't snug when it goes in, so it's going to go like this, and then you're going to line it up and put this in there. I got to go this way, like so, and then this little thing clips over. If this isn't 100% snug, you're going to have a lot of wobble in here and then a lot of twist. I wanted to mitigate that, so I made it as snug as possible. So that's that part. Also, since I did get the corrosion resistant lag bolt, I did have to machine or sand that coating off of here in order for it to fit in here. The reason why I got the corrosion resistant one is because that's all they had. They didn't have the zinc plated one. This is like hot melt zinc or whatever they call it. So that's why I had to sand some stuff down. Also, you can just chop off the head instead of grinding it like I did. The reason why I wanted it ground off is because I wanted to utilize this shank in supporting the tube in here. So the longer this is, the better it is in here, so that way it doesn't wobble as much. So I wanted to maximize for the pin. This is a trailer pin, and basically it's a 1/4 inch trailer pin. They come in different sizes, so depending on what you decide to buy is up to you. The reason why I got this one and didn't want to run the screws because I didn't want to lose the nut. And then also, once I'm done with this assembled like that, I could turn it around, okay, like so, put it in, and then pin it like that and lock it. So that way it doesn't stab anyone. And this is actually the same length as the top end. So I made sure everything was precise as far as length. So as you can see, they're pretty much the same in length. Also, if you look here, I made it perfect so that way this would fluctuate back and forth. So it would allow that movement instead of hitting on one side and then binding. Also, I left this end out so that way if it did start corroding, you could still grab it and pull it out. So you don't have to deal with it when you're camping and get frustrated. So you might be wondering why I made this pin so long, or got the longer pin. I'll show you that right now. I got a stainless steel pin, so that way it's corrosion resistant and it's strong. But you may also be wondering why I have this and how am I going to put this into the ground. You know, I'm not going to hammer it down, because you start hammering it and then that defeats the purpose of the threads. So what I ended up doing was designing this tool here, okay? So what this tool is it allows me to stick this into here, which is your lag bolt, and then utilize the same pin and put it into here to lock it up, okay? Perfect fit. There's no play here. Like, this is pretty stout. And then I have multiple options, which brings me to my tools that I picked out. So originally what I wanted to do was make this hex the same size as my truck lug nuts, but I couldn't do that because I needed the inside to be large enough for a 1/2 inch socket, or your 1/2 inch shank here, okay? Show you that right now, but let's go over this. So I had to make this larger, okay? So this is large enough to be stout to put a crescent wrench on it and still turn this into the ground. If you didn't have no power tools, you could use a crescent wrench. Also, I made this a 1/2 inch with the little cutout there, so that way you could just attach it like so, and then screw it into the seam or your floor. Especially hard pan, you're gonna need something to drive it in. I also wanted to make sure if I didn't have a 1/2 inch drive set, if you look closely down in there, it's kind of hard to see. I countersunk 3/8 drive set further down. You won't be able to get a wrench on it. So this one allows you to put a 1/2 inch wrench, since I have a 1/2 inch setup for my lug nuts on my truck, everything's 1/2 inch for the drive set. But I also gave the option for the 3/8 to sink down lower, so that way you could still use a 3/8 set if you have a little extension on it, and then that'll allow you to drive that down. Okay. I also designed this to keep in mind, once I'm done using it, how do you store this, right? So you take this off and then you decide you want to store it, so you put this back in here like so. Slide this in, okay? And then you take this end, and then I could slide it halfway in there, right? Slide it out like that, lock this over, and now everything stays attached and together. If I went with the longer pin, it would probably be better, so that way it could lock this whole thing side by side. But that was a design that I designed into the whole system. After I purchased this pin, I realized that, hey, I should probably keep these tools together so I don't lose them. But this works as well. Start with the tool to screw this down, okay? So that way we have an anchor. The reason why I chose a lag bolt instead of a stake is because I didn't want my shower to twist in a 360. And the reason why I chose a lag bolt instead of a V shape, which you could also do, and then zip tie it to this, and then you could hammer it down and do so, is because in my camping shower, I didn't want to tear a huge hole in the bottom. So that's why I wanted to stay small and save some space. Also, you would have to take those zip ties off and then turn them around, or if you welded it directly, you would have this spike that would stick out. So I wanted everything to be compact and stow away nicely. All right, so once you have this hooked up, like so, this is an impact driver, so it's gonna make that sound once it starts biting into stuff, but that's how it's gonna look. And then of course you take this out, and then now your stake's in there, and there's no taking this out. Also, this hole could be used if you had a shaft and you wanted to do it by hand. You could also do that by hand, okay? But that's pretty stout and secure in there. So from there, what you need to do is get your first pole, which has a hole. Make sure you line it up to the proper ones that they need to be lined up to. Take this, make it go down till it's in, slide the pin through, and then voila, it's done. Okay, so that's that. And then from here, I take this, unscrew it a little bit, and then I tighten that by hand, and it's done. Of course, I could keep turning this until it really bites down, or I could impact it more, but as you can see, it's snug. It's not going nowhere. If you want, you could drive it down further. From there, I take the top, and then all I got to do is slip it on like so. Okay, then I take my hose and then I clip it together like that, and then boom, my shower's ready to rock and roll. Okay, now I got an on and off valve that I could use, and then the head should be as high up as you want. I figure I make it long, and then if I ever wanted to shorten it, I could always cut off the PVC, or off of the, if you have PVC, you could cut the PVC, of course, or the conduit. Okay, I wanted it so that way I could get the top of my head, and in 2 sections, that's pretty small as well. So I mean, it saves space as it is. Okay, so now for the moment of truth, I'm gonna leave all the valves open so that way it doesn't build up any suction or vacuum, because it will collapse this tube. And to be honest, I don't need it to cut off just yet because I'm not switching it over. So I'm gonna make sure that this one is on and that one's on, and then I'll just plug it directly in. It powered up, super quiet motor. There's no vibration, really nothing. And then boom, you got all this water flow. So look at my hand just dripping with water. Like I was saying, you could back it off as much as you want right here. If you want a little trickle of water, that still does the job. That's why I recommend the half a gallon per minute flow, because you can regulate it like this, but at least you got the output to kick it up if you need to. All right. And then this is at full effect. And then of course you could also adjust the output of it at any given time right here. So that way you could give it more flow, more pressure, whatever it is, tune it to what your needs are. So the big issue with the Coleman is the fact that it doesn't have an on and off where it automatically turns on, automatically turns off when the water stops flowing. If the water stops flowing, this thing dies and it's out of commission and you got to restart it here. That sucks. You may be able to go into the internals and fix that and adjust it so that way it does that. But just remember, every time you make a modification to this, you could potentially cause harm to your device, and it could catch on fire since this thing's always going to be warm. So you would need something that would automatically restart your Coleman setup and bypass the switch here where you would have to push in and twist, okay? So I didn't want to get to that just yet. I wanted to utilize it because the camping season was coming up. So I wanted to utilize it as fast as possible. The only way I could utilize it as fast as possible is by doing what I'm going to show you right now. Right? If you decide you don't want to mess with the internals and you want to utilize what you have two additional options, okay? One is converting your setup that you currently have. These come with silicone hose. I don't like silicone hose because the silicone hose tends to get sticky and dust and grime start sticking to it. So I bought this 3/8 hose, the same as this, which is 1/2 inch. And I converted it to this just because this coils up naturally nicely, and then also it doesn't get grime and crap stuck to it, okay? And you probably want to regulate your temperature with this because I don't know the threshold that this could handle, but it's pretty good, so I wouldn't worry too much about it, okay? So what you do is you connect this to here, okay? Then what you end up doing is connecting your pump that this came with. You could drop it into this, okay, like so, suck up water, take this here, plug it into here, okay, then plug this into here, turn this on, and then let it circulate. That might be a struggle for the pump that it comes with, so that may be an issue, okay? That's kind of like something that you're gonna have to look into. Another way though, so another way you could do it is connect a quick disconnect to here, like you were on the original shower setup, okay? From there, you connect your quick disconnect hose, this one, which I still need the other end, okay, to here. You get rid of this, all right, because you want this on a quick disconnect change. Put this to here, like so. Take this one, plug it into here, okay, and then drop this one in the hole we made earlier. So now what ends up happening is your water flow comes from the bottom, sucks up through your new pump that you have, okay? From the new pump, it's gonna go to this hose, which is gonna be attached to here, all right? This hose isn't gonna be there, okay? And then it's gonna run through your heater and then out here, back into the top of this, and it's gonna circulate the heat. Once this whole thing gets warm, it's gonna be lukewarm. You don't want it too hot because you don't want this to premature and crack. So you want it lukewarm, just enough for you to be satisfied in a shower or cleaning stuff. And that's how I'm gonna do it until I determine what I'm gonna do with this, whether or not I'm gonna keep this or get a different one, okay? If you had another one and you didn't have a Coleman and you weren't invested into the Coleman POS that I have here, what you could do is connect it like so to here. From here, you could connect it to this, which goes into your hot water heater, right? From the hot water heater, into your shower. So this would connect basically to this. Okay, so this would be your shower, and then this would connect to here, and then this part would connect to the motor right here. So that way you pull water from here, it pumps to your pump. From your pump, it pumps to your Coleman or your other brand that has the automatic off and on switch. From that, it pumps to your shower or your sink or whatever it is you have. That would be the ideal setup, but since I don't have that, that would be another $400 that I would have to invest that I'm not willing to invest right now. Okay, so for now, I'm gonna pump it from here to my Coleman, from my Coleman back into the top of this, and then quick disconnect this off once this is warm, and then pump it through the top. Remember, you don't need to heat this up too much if you're in a hot climate, especially because it's gonna be sitting out in the sun all day. You might need to just warm it up a little bit more. So this doesn't have to run a lot at all. So that's gonna complete today's video on this DIY shower. If you thought it was informative and helpful, definitely give it a thumbs up. It's always greatly appreciated. If you want to see content like this and other content I'll be posting in the near future, definitely consider subscribing, especially if you're interested in this Coleman setup and you want to see what I end up doing with this later on down the road. Definitely check that out. Until next time, I'll see y'all in the next one.